Wycombe Wanderers Show.
People of Wycombe, stop what you are doing, and if you are able, stand and applaud, because Gareth Ainsworth has led Wycombe Wanderers to the Championship, the highest level of football that they have played in their history, beating Oxford United 2-1 at Wembley Stadium tonight. Wycombe Wanderers will be playing in the Championship next season.
That was just amazing. You know, we can't afford the best footballing players, but heart and determination, and that was a Wycombe performance. I'm so proud of the boys. You know, they just ground it out. They were just, honestly, I can't believe it.
No matter where we finish on the table, this will be the highest finish in Wycombe Wanderers history, and so it is going to be a tough road to hoe.
It's going to be a real learning curve, and there's no better place to learn than Wycombe. It's a brilliant atmosphere, great people work here, and very proud to be the manager and wake up every day. Very lucky, very happy, and I wanted to give my all, and that will continue into the Championship, definitely.
I'll say it for the people in the back. Wycombe's in the Championship. Wait. I'll say it one more time. Wycombe's in the Championship. Wait! People in the back didn't hear me. Wycombe is in the Championship.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound, the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome along to the very first Wycombe Wanderers Show, a weekly show here at Wycombe Sound dedicated entirely to Wycombe Wanderers. Both the men's and women's team will be featured each week. I'm Colin, Bob's with us as well, taking us through the next hour of fantastic Wycombe Wanderers coverage.
And this show very much does what it says on the tin. It is all about Wycombe Wanderers. Everything that comes out of Adams Park, we will bring you between 7 and 8 o'clock every Thursday evening, and also, as Colin says, featuring the Wycombe Wanderers ladies as well.
We'll be reviewing games, we'll be previewing games, analysing games, taking a slightly sideways look at some things as well. There's even talking a future edition of reviewing the kit.
Yes, I'm particularly looking forward to that with one of our fashion experts. But tonight, coming up, we will review the game against Brentford from Sunday, and hear Gareth Ainsworth's thoughts after that.
We'll also be hearing from the Supporters Player of the Year, Joe Jacobson.
We will be chatting to Matt Cecil about how you can be following the Chairboys this season, as obviously fans are not currently allowed into Adams Park.
And we'll be catching up with the captain of Wycombe Wanderers ladies, Charlotte Bagshaw, as they kicked off their season with their first competitive game over the weekend and started with a win.
That is all to come between now and 8 o'clock with myself and Colin Besley, right here on Wycombe Sound.
That's very exciting, wasn't it?
It certainly is. So welcome along to the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
I don't know about you, but hearing that very beginning bit really takes you back to that warm July evening at Wembley.
And I still can't really... I can believe it now, but it still just seems like, such an amazing thing for Wycombe Wanderers to have done. Particularly as... this time last year, yes, OK, by now, we'd got a few more than 9 players, but when you think back to the beginning of the 2019-20 season, where, Gareth had 9 players turning up, or possibly even less than that on the first day, and very much, we were written off first day of pre-season training, and now we're in the Championship.
And when you hear older supporters speaking, and they could never imagine that in their lifetime Wycombe Wanderers would be in the second tier of English football.
It is just amazing, isn't it? And you do then begin to wonder, well, actually, just how far can this club go? Because once again, everybody's writing them off this season, saying, haven't got a chance. Definitely, I've seen that favourites to go down, even though Sheffield Wednesday are obviously starting on minus 12 points. Wycombe are still favourites to be below them. And you think, well, but hang on, we've heard all of this before. We heard it last season. We heard it the season before that. And so... let's just see, because I think we're going to surprise quite a few people this season.
And to go from relegation favourites to gaining promotion, as I say, to the Championship, it doesn't seem too long ago that we're nearly falling out the Football League entirely, and now being in the position you're in, like you say, there's no reason why we can't dream for much bigger things.
And we would very much like your opinion on where Wycombe Wanderers are going to be finishing this season. We are asking you on Twitter tonight to cast your vote as to where you think Wycombe Wanderers will finish. You can find that by going to Twitter and looking for @Wycombe Sound.
And you can use the hashtag TWWS, the Wycombe Wanderers Show, or TWIZ.
Oh, yes. TWWS, yes. We haven't come up with a good way of saying that, but I promise that we will. Mr. Besley, what are your predictions for the season? Whereabouts do you think the mighty Wycombe Wanderers will finish?
Well, I think being an eternal optimist anyway, and being a huge fan of the club, obviously, it'll be fantastic to see them finish. I think, well, you kind of imagine, survival is the first priority, but it'd be fantastic to see them finish. Even mid-table would be excellent, especially when you consider the calibre of the teams that are already in the Championship and the size of the clubs and the budgets. And so, yes, I'd be very, very happy with a sort of mid-table finish.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm thinking it will probably be lower half. But at the same time, I'm not going with all of these people who are saying, no, definitely Wycombe are going to get relegated. I think, we will surprise some people, and I would be looking at maybe 17th, 18th, something like that. I think that, that's whereabouts. I think this team has the potential to finish, particularly being led by somebody like Gareth Ainsworth, who clearly just does believe and instills that belief in his team. He's
so passionate, obviously, and so positive even after defeats and picks out the best in performances as well. We should do that thing, shouldn't we? We put in an envelope what we said at 17th and then
okay.
At the end of the season pull it out and see how close we are.
Yeah, the producer Luke is saying that he's going to sort that out. So yes,
those gold envelopes.
Yeah, we will. So okay, all right. So I'm saying 17th. So come on, I want a position from you then if we're doing the envelope thing.
Yeah, let's go slightly more positive then. I'll go 15th.
Okay.
Which is only a couple of places higher, admittedly. But
all right. So when it gets to May,
Luke's got a low budget envelope.
Yes, I was sort of looking forward
on the telly. They have the gold.
I was
ones,
just going to say, you watch the X Factor or something.
Yes,
and they have the gold ones.
Celebrity
Whereas Luke's just got the standard white ones. When the season finishes in May, or whenever it might finish, because let's put a little asterisk next to that, because I think it's no means definitely certain. But yes, when the season does finish, we will have a look at our predictions and see how right or wrong we were. But also, if you want to let us know what your prediction is, as I say, we've got a poll running on Twitter, but you can also get in touch by social media, either on Twitter using @Wycombe Sound. You can go to Facebook and just search for Wycombe Sound. We're on there, or you can email us studio@wycombesound.org.uk. So talking about the Championship, obviously last weekend we started off playing a Championship team, and a very good Championship team at that, against Brentford. And personally, I thought, actually, I'm sure Gareth Ainsworth wouldn't admit this, but I thought it was the perfect result for Wycombe. I know we went out on penalties, but performance-wise, and also the fact that then you've got to play the second round, the third round, the fourth round on consecutive midweeks. I think a very good performance against a very good Brentford side, and going out on penalties, that will do us nicely, thank you very much.
And to fight back that way as well, to go 1-0 down, as you say, against a side who narrowly avoided getting up into the Premier League as well. To turn a negative into a positive.
Yes, well, and Brentford were quite good at that towards the end of last season.
No, exactly.
Every time you thought, they're going to go up tonight. Oh no, they've lost again. Oh, they've probably beat Fulham. Oh no, they haven't.
And when you find a team like Wycombe, they go 1-0 down against Brentford, you think, oh, that's it now. But to come back to, as you say, 1-1 and to do pretty well in the penalties as well.
Yeah, definitely. And particularly, Dominic Gate being sent off. I very much did feel that the referee was looking particularly for that sort of foul. So there had been an incident before that where I think it was David Weir. I can't quite remember now, but there was definitely a similar foul, but no contact was made with any player, and straight away it was yellow card. And then as soon as you saw what Dominic Gate did, but the thing was, Dominic Gate wasn't looking. He wasn't looking at the Brentford player's ankle. It was just one of those sort of coming together that you think, well, it looked nasty, and it looked really nasty on the TV, but I think 50% of the referees probably would have given that as a yellow card rather than a red.
Absolutely, and it was really interesting to hear Thomas Frank's post-match comments saying that Wycombe played a different way to what they were expecting, which I'm sure is what will happen against a lot of the teams in the Championship this season, and that they were hard to play against, which is obviously something that Gareth will be pushing for as well against all the teams this season.
And again, that's what I think was really good, was that actually it sent out a very clear message straight away that, look, we're not here to just make up the numbers. We are going to really battle all the way through the whole game, because it was very noticeable that actually really the only time that Brentford were really in the ascendancy was maybe the 15-20 minutes just after half time. But actually, as soon as Wycombe went down to 10 men, we were by far the better side, and you could almost see the goal coming for a while.
Yeah, Gareth was really pleased with the performance of the game. Some great fighting spirit, as we say, to come back to 1-1, and something to look forward to in the upcoming fixtures into the Championship, something which he was keen to stress on Sky Sports News afterwards.
We're going to hopefully surprise a few people, and everyone's tipped us to go back down, and that's great. That makes us the underdogs in every game, and my boys, they really play well when they're not fancied. They really want to prove people wrong. Got some big players to come back yet in the team as well, but Daryl Horgan's had a great debut there, and Tafazoli, Uchi Pizzi still to come into the team yet, so really, really proud, like I say, and that spirit is a Wycombe performance. All I've said is that when people play Wycombe, I want them to know they're playing Wycombe. I want them to respect us and say, you know what, that was a tough game, that wasn't a walkover. I'm sure there's going to be a few tough days, but there's going to be some good ones as well. I'm really proud of the boys, and they keep playing like that, we're going to win some games this season without a shadow of a doubt.
I think that really sums it up as well. There may be some heavy defeats, there may be, some really disappointments, but there'll be some special nights after some big games in the Championship as well.
Yeah, and definitely the game, I think, proved that as I say, we were not just there to make up the numbers. We are going to challenge, we are going to compete in this division, and a team like Brentford who were so close to going up to the Premier League. They could have been having their first competitive game against Manchester United, not Wycombe Wanderers, but I think we really proved that yes, actually we do belong in this division, and we are going to compete, and look out the rest of the Championship, because if you do underestimate us, well, we are going to come back and bite you.
Because you imagine, obviously speaking as a non-player myself, that it'd be quite a step up with no real experience in the in any of the flights of English football.
No, and I would concur with that as well. But please don't be listening thinking that we're both ex-pros, because we're not. But
you imagine it's quite a step up to the Championship, and hopefully in the coming weeks we'll get to speak to some of the players and be able to literally ask them. But you get the impression that previously in previous campaigns, Wycombe do raise their game against the bigger sides in cup competitions as well, when we've taken on teams of the calibre of Championship and even Premier League players. So it sounds a cliche to say that each game will be like a cup final, but you imagine that some players will certainly be up for the likes of Nottingham Forest, Derby, Preston, Blackburn, QPR. The list goes on.
And yes, I was chatting to Gareth and to Joe Jacobson about that a little bit today, and we'll hear that later on in the show. But Gareth did actually say, and I wasn't sure if he would admit it, but he did say, Rotherham is not necessarily the glamour tie. But Joe Jacobson, absolutely right, said, well, it doesn't really matter which order you play them in, and that is true. I know as football fans, and I do it, when the fixtures are coming out, you get really excited. It's like, oh, this is great. But actually, once they come out, it is like, oh yeah, okay, well, we knew that it was 23 teams that were going to be playing home and away, and that actually the fixture list just shows which order it's in. And I don't necessarily think that actually Rotherham at home is a particularly bad start, because I think it does give a real opportunity to one of the teams that was in League One to pick up an opening victory.
And Gareth was saying in the build up to the Brentford game as well, it's going to take 4 or 5 weeks obviously for the players to adjust, to get used to the level at the Championship, and also for him to find out where his team are in terms of levels of fitness even, and adjusting to that level of football as well.
And I think they would have been saying that anyway, because obviously this has been a very unusual pre-season, very truncated. The fact that Wycombe were obviously playing the playoff games, the whole situation around football obviously is very unusual at the minute, but obviously for Wycombe even more unusual for them, because yes, they're in the Championship.
It's been interesting, isn't it, having these practice games, playing the likes of Southampton and West Ham and Villa as well, because often in pre-season games you wouldn't normally get such big names to pit your wits against in the close season, but obviously a lot of the local sides as well. Wycombe have put out, I think, teams against teams like Chesham, and that they've played teams like that, haven't they? But it's been really interesting to come up against some big names in those games, and the fans have been able to see those games as well.
Yeah, which has been fantastic, and obviously we're able to see the game against Brentford, because that was televised. Can we just have a little chat as well about Brentford Stadium, which I know everyone's saying is oh wow, doesn't it look fantastic? But I'm sorry, the whole time I was watching, I was just thinking it looks like something from Legoland, because they've got all of the seats are different colours.
Yes.
Who on earth decided that? Because I didn't think that looked particularly good. It just looks a bit strange.
And you wouldn't normally see it, of course, if there were fans in them.
That's very true. And I suppose that is the point to say, is that normally you wouldn't see it. But it just looked like they didn't actually quite know, as if they'd rung somebody up and assumed that actually they knew what the Brentford colours were, and this person had sort of gone, oh, well, I'm not quite... Are they red? Are they yellow? Are they black?
So limited edition seats they managed to get.
Let's just go with all of those colours. I'm sure it'll be fine. And actually, I was looking at it thinking, no, sorry, I don't think that... somebody's really sold that to you and said it's going to look amazing. But actually,
it looked a bit too new, didn't it?
I thought it looked a little bit like it was actually coming live from Windsor and Legoland rather than a proper football stadium. Obviously, a very nice football stadium. I'm not saying
happy to go there again.
I just wasn't quite sure about the seat arrangement. I thought was quite interesting.
Yes, some interesting news for fans actually on watching the games in the coming season.
Indeed, yes. So I was speaking to Matt Cecil today, asking him how fans could watch the Chairboys in the opening games of the season.
Firstly, of course, it's heartbreaking that the fans won't be there in the stadium. It was a really weird experience at Fleetwood, at Adams Park for the home leg, and at Wembley, not having the loyal supporters behind us. But do you know what? I think the whole club felt that support, even though the team weren't there. And the videos and all the messages that came through from people's front living rooms were amazing to see and really, really moving. And we know it's going to be the same for every game in the Championship. Of course, we hope to get fans back in the stadium as soon as possible. But until then, iFollow is your answer. It's the club's online platform provided by the EFL. And for every game, it's either £10 to watch, but season ticket holders are being given a free pass as well, obviously in lieu of their season ticket not being able to come in. So all of the instructions are on our website, but it's a really good 4-camera coverage, audio commentary, graphics, replays, not quite Sky Sports but close to it, and yeah, hopefully it's the next best solution to being there. We're watching it at home, throwing cups in the air when the goals go in, throwing cushions at the TV when the referee gives a bad decision, and we know fans will be kicking every ball from their front rooms. So iFollow is your place. Get your pass nice and early to avoid any technical difficulties on the day, and enjoy the game.
Will the commentary be from Phil Catchpole?
It certainly will, yeah. I think he's got Jeff Doyle alongside him this week, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of players. Marcus Bean will be joining him a few times this season as well. The great Bill Turnbull will be providing some iFollow commentary. There is a danger that Pete Couig might appear on one of the commentaries, but we might need a mute button on occasion.
That'll be entertaining.
Yeah, and potentially libelous. No, Pete will be great entertainment. Pete is living and breathing Wycombe Wanderers, living High Wycombe, living obviously near the studio at Wycombe Sound, and he, just like us, is hugely excited for Saturday and the whole season to come.
So if you are a Wycombe Wanderers fan abroad, you can sign up, I think, to iFollow. You can subscribe, can't you? But if you're in this country, you pay every time. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. Overseas there's a seasonal pass to watch iFollow, so you can watch every single game, home and away, weekend, midweek. Previously there were restrictions around it on the UK and Ireland front. Those restrictions have been lifted for the behind closed doors games, obviously with the realisation that fans in the UK aren't able to make it to the stadia. So if you're overseas, you can buy a seasonal pass. If you're inside the UK, I'm afraid it is the process of signing up each game, but it's nice and straightforward each time. You'll get the hang of it, and as I say, do it nice and early, get settled in, and pour yourself a beer or a cup of tea, depending on what time of day the fixture is, and enjoy the game as best you can on TV.
That is Matt Cecil there. Apologies to Pete Couig. We do hope that he's listening as well. But I very much liked what Matt said with regards to him possibly doing a bit of punditry this season. And that will be very entertaining.
And it's good to be lubricated as well when enjoying the football.
Yes, I'm not commenting about that, but yes.
Perhaps hydrated would have been a better
expression. A couple of times I have seen him with a beer in his hand, in particular after the Fleetwood game, and I'm sure as well after the Oxford United game. Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers show, we will be previewing then the game against Rotherham United and hearing from Gareth Ainsworth and Joe Jacobson.
And we'll be hearing from Wycombe Wanderers ladies captain Charlotte Bagshaw as well.
The Wycombe Wanderers show.
It's the Wycombe Wanderers show with myself, Bob Johnson, and Colin Besley as well. Here with you through until 8 o'clock tonight, talking everything Chairboys and also Chairgirls.
Do tell us about your morning.
My morning? Oh, yes. So this morning I went up to the training ground. Absolutely beautiful, a gorgeous morning. And the wonderful thing about actually going to the training ground is it's always buzzing. I know that this sounds like a bit of a cliche, but, and that's what you hear a lot about Wycombe Wanderers, but it's such a positive place to be. You go along and just everybody is smiling, everybody is having a good time. You go to some places and and you can really see that there's a bit of a sort of like a Monday morning, I'm back at work, that you don't get that at all at the Wycombe Wanderers training ground.
What do you get?
So what you do get is a lot of very loud, blaring music. So there's always music being played from the gymnasium, and the players seem to get there quite early and go in the gym first of all before then they come out and train. It was very entertaining this morning because the only people actually that were there from the media were myself and the ITV News London crew, and they were a little bit precious about the fact that the music was playing, and kept asking for it to be turned down, and also saying could we close the doors so that they couldn't hear it. So while
Very sporting.
I know, and it's like, look, this is how it is. It's Wycombe Wanderers. We do things differently, which is very much what Gareth says.
Can you give us some examples of some of the music that were on offer?
So they were playing some Blondie. There was some Rolling Stones going on. I think there was some Doors going on as well, which obviously is one of Gareth's big favourites. It was quite retro actually. I was expecting it to be maybe a little bit more clubby, but it wasn't. It was very much rock and roll.
For the benefit of the tape, Bob was dancing about while saying clubby.
Yes, I was. Very badly, because I don't do the dancing very well. Anyway, so I did chat to Gareth Ainsworth this morning, and first of all, began by asking him whether he would miss the fans.
They will be there in spirit. We know they will be, and we intend to put a good performance on. Our first ever game in the Championship ever. It's great. It's great to be able to say we're doing that. No matter what happens at the end of the game, we're Wycombe Wanderers' highest ever league position, and that's really nice. But we want to get off to a good start. I know Rotherham will as well. Very ironic that we're both in League One last year, and it's probably not the glam fixture that everyone was hoping. But I tell you what, they're going to be very good in the league this season. I've watched them. They very hard working, organised side, and Warney's got them working really hard and good players. They've made some good signings. We're in for a good test,
And although we were in League One with them last season, actually they're a team we haven't played very much recently. I think obviously once last season, and before that was actually 7 years ago.
Yeah, and he's got credit to Rotherham and what they've done. They've got a great chairman. He speaks very highly of all the underdog clubs, and I think that's very nice. And he's been around the block with the Championship and League One, and he ran League Two at one stage when I first took over. So there's a lot of plaudits for Rotherham, But as I've said this week, we want to make a noise. We want everyone to remember Wycombe Wanderers in the Championship, and that'll be Rotherham first on Saturday. And I'm hoping that we get everyone as fit as possible and everyone firing on all cylinders for 12:30 on Saturday, because we've got an early kick-off. It'd be nice to be able to watch some of the other games coming in. But it's the start of what will be a superb campaign for us, and really looking forward to it.
And you got off to a really good start on Sunday with the performance against Brentford.
Performance-wise, I was so pleased, so pleased. Some real eye-openers, and I believe that the lads are ready to step up, make this step. It's not going to be easy, and people will say, don't be stupid, it's Championship, but do you know what, it's 11 against 11. The mind will come into this as much as the body. Yeah, there's some physical specimens in this league, there's some great athletes, but there's not a team more together than Wycombe, and win, lose or draw, we'll be together, and that's going to be key to us this season.
What about the team news for Saturday?
Yeah, obviously keeping everything close to my chest. We don't give that out, and people will have to start guessing which players will start the first ever Championship game. But it's my job to pick a competitive team, and I'll make sure I do that. And
presumably there's a lot of competition in the team. Everybody does want to be on that team sheet on Saturday.
Yeah, well, listen, we took we took some players who were probably just a little bit too much from last year. Jacob Gordon-Smith is a fantastic competitor. Jeremy Maskell, Cedo, who's played in League One numerous times. I thought they were just probably time to move on. And what we've added, you come over the top with Ryan Tafazoli, Uche Piezu and Daryl Horgan. There's three who you'd say would be in Championship sides. So it's going to be very difficult, because I don't know my best 11 yet, and honestly I didn't know my best 11 last season. I knew my best 11 for certain games, and I think that's the way to do it. Like I said in the week, we're going to be different. We're Wycombe Wanderers, we're not the norm, and I love not being the norm,
and that's why we love you. Thank you very much, Gareth.
You do hear so many fans, don't you, saying we're so lucky to have Gareth as our manager, and quite rightly.
Yes, and I've said that a lot here on Wycombe Sound, through the years, because I think, my son stands on the terrace, and obviously the terrace is the sort of, the most lively bit, and where you get the most opinions, and and occasionally, if we've had a bad little spell, he'll get in the car looking a bit fed up afterwards and say, oh, there was some booing. Why on earth are they booing? And exactly, why on earth are they booing? Because we've got the most amazing manager. And I think if the fans are allowed back in this year, we really do have to remember, and as Pete Couhig has said, and as Gareth has said as well, it's not necessarily going to be easy. you know, there are going to be some games that actually, yes, you know, and some times where it's going to be quite hard going. But at the same time, there are going to be some amazing times too. And we do just have to remember, I think, how lucky we are to have this man as our manager, because he is an amazing manager, an amazing motivator of his players. And I completely saw that this morning, just at, you know, at the training ground. It is such a positive place to go. It is such a place where you can just see that actually everybody wants to be there. And very much, you look at some managers in the Football League and you think, you know, I really wouldn't want to play for you because you just look like you're going to be moaning and you're going to be criticising the whole time. And Gareth is so the other end from that. You know, we're Wycombe Wanderers, we do things differently, and that's why he's wonderful.
You can tell he has such a pride in his work, B, the club. He gets what the club's about. Obviously knows from where it's come from, especially in, you know, terms of financial, but also the sort of the history of the club as well. He's taken over the mantle of being the club's most successful manager from Martin O'Neill, and deservedly so. And you hear from previously on Wycombe Sound post-match comments, even after, you know, a boring 0-0 draw or just something where there's not even really been anything in a game, or a heavy defeat even. He's so positive and so, you know, so encouraging of the players, and promising, you know, more performances and players, you know, giving their all for him, as you say.
And I very much get the impression that Wycombe Wanderers fans are completely with us with regards to this, because it's interesting to look at our Twitter poll that we are running tonight. If you want to take part in the Twitter poll, it runs until 10 to 8. So go onto Twitter. You can search for Wycombe Sound, or at Wycombe Sound is our Twitter handle, I believe that they call it. Currently, 13% of people think that we're going to finish in the promotion or the playoffs.
Come on, optimists.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with that. 13% say we're going to finish between 7th and 12th. 75% say that we are going to finish between 13th and 21st. And nobody at all is saying relegation.
That's the spirit.
Isn't that good?
It has been a busy week in regards to Wycombe Wanderers activity. I think you touched on earlier that the players have had their photo shoot. Always great to see the players' pictures. And I remember when I was younger as well, it was always great to get the team photo on your wall of the team, and it looked great for the calendar and stuff like that. But also, of course, some awards have been handed out. We'll be chatting more about that in a bit. But first of all, Bob's been chatting to the Supporters Player of the Year, Joe Jacobson.
Have you come to terms yet with the fact that Wycombe are in the Championship and what happened back at the end of July?
I think now it's kind of sunk in. When I think the biggest thing was when the fixtures came out, and you're seeing all the teams you're playing against, and you're starting off, and your first away games at Blackburn, this huge club that won the Premier League, and you're like, okay, this is where it's really at now. And the euphoria of what happened at Wembley. When was it? 2 months ago, around now. It hasn't given us kind of that much time to just sit on it and just, you know, milk it for the summer. We've had a short turnaround pre-season. We only had a couple of weeks off pre-season, was then back in, and we're all ready for it, and just so excited to kind of play, you know, Championship football now for this club.
When the fixtures came out, was there a little bit of a disappointment that Rotherham at home was the first one, or was there a feeling that actually this is a club that we're quite familiar with, this is a really good opportunity to get 3 points on the board early on? Yeah,
I don't think it matters when you play teams. There wasn't anything. I think we'd have. Yeah, like you said, we're going to all these stadiums, all these places throughout the season, so it doesn't really matter when it comes along. And Rotherham, they've been a team kind of. You know, going between League One and Championship the last few years, and they're a very good team, and they proved that last season. So it's going to be a tough start for us. But it's a game that we want to win. We want to start the season well. We want to get as many points on the board as soon as we can, really. And we'll be looking forward to it. And like you said, it's going to be strange. You know, going to these big places, a lot of them without fans and things like that. So. You know, it's weird because the one big one that I was looking forward to is going back to Cardiff, where I was from, and family and friends still big Cardiff fans. So I just wanted to make sure that was further down the season where fans could kind of come back into the stadium. Yeah, fingers crossed, and so that they could come and watch.
How big a difference does it make to a player actually playing in an empty stadium?
Do you know what? It doesn't really make too much of a difference to me. I'm sure a lot of people are different. A lot of people kind of thrive on the atmospheres and the fans and things, but I think we got used to it very quickly, especially at Fleetwood away. We kind of said that we can use our substitutes, our directors and things as fans, and it made a huge difference that we could hear them, you know, cheering every tackle, every pass, every little bit of success we had on the pitch. And It's strange because I've been asked this loads of times, and when you're kind of playing in front of big crowds and in big stadiums, you still only really notice the pitch and the players on the pitch. You don't really notice the crowd too much. If something happens, there's a goal or a big chance, you'll hear a noise and you'll realise where you are. But while the game's going on, you're so concentrated just on the parameters of the pitch and what's going on in there that you don't really take too much notice of anything else, really.
My son and his friends were playing football the other day, and one of them was talking about doing a Jacobson. You have now become, you're in the language of English football. Have you been practising the scoring from a corner over the summer?
I was thinking what you were going to say then. No, I haven't, no. Look, it's funny how it turned out last season, just scoring from a couple of corners, and I think there was a bit of media attention when it happened for the hat-trick, and yeah, just something that we kind of work on. We work on set pieces a lot here. We've got Richard Dobson who works meticulously well on how other teams set up and where their weaknesses and strengths are, and how for us to kind of go against that. So, some days they'll tell me to put it on top of the keeper and see what happens. Other days I'll say keep it away from the keeper. So no, I haven't been practicing scoring from corners as of yet, but I think when we've done them once or twice in training, the boys are starting to take the mick and saying, there's no point going up, he's just going to shoot and things like that. But if I can contribute going forward at that end as well, then it's a big bonus for us.
You mentioned about Cardiff. It's a long time since you played in the Championship, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I spoke to my dad yesterday, who's still a big Cardiff fan, and by the time we play him, it'll be nearly 15 years, I think, since I made my debut there. And at the time, I didn't think it'd be, first of all, the only time I'd play at Cardiff, and secondly, the only time I'd play in the Championship for that long. You don't expect careers to kind of go the way they do, but that's another reason why I'm buzzing to be back at this level, to play in front of my team that I grew up supporting and that I spent a lot of time at and still have a huge soft spot for. So for me, that was the one fixture I was looking forward to this season, and can't wait to hopefully play there, and hopefully there's some fans there by the time that happens.
Finally, I think I probably know the answer to this, but what's the mood like in the camp at the moment? I'm imagining that Gareth has got the boys really, really buzzing.
Yeah, that's just what it is here. Regardless of where we are in the league, what league we're in, what position, how we've been doing, win, lose or draw, the gaffer's the same. You'll come in and there's rock music's blaring on in the gym, and it's just a great environment to be in, regardless of how you're doing. And there's a lot of clubs. I spoke to a friend yesterday who's played one Checker Trade game and one League Cup game, and already the manager's on top of him, and the atmosphere is changing already. Whereas here, lose 10 in a row, the gaffer's still the same. He's still upbeat. He's the most positive guy that I've ever met in football. So it's hard not to kind of be taken in by that and act like that ourselves. So like I said, we're all buzzing. We're desperate to kind of show people what we're about, and no one's given us any hope this season to survive, do anything, and we want to prove all these people wrong again.
Really good to hear from Joe Jacobson, and if you've got a T-shirt with the fact that you're a bit of a free kick specialist, in your honour, then I think that's quite high status to have in a club.
That shows that, definitely, yeah. And if you've already become a part of the footballing language, doing a Jacobson, scoring
Indeed.
From a corner. Yeah.
Great to have those tips as well on how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes they want it on top of the keeper, sometimes they want it miles away from the keeper. Yeah, okay.
Or just in the goal from the corner.
Also, very interesting to hear about his friend, who he didn't mention where they played, but so they've already lost in the pre-season. They lost in the Carabao Cup, and already the manager's on their backs. And Joe just saying it's so not like that here. It doesn't matter how many games we've lost. Gareth's still. It's a really positive place to work.
Because you wonder if there are teams, and looking down the list of teams in the Championship, there probably definitely are, the big budgeted sides, the teams who have owners who could fire the manager without a thought if they lose 3 games in a row. There must be such pressure on managers, especially to get results, to get performances, to get goals, to get I was going to say bums on seats, but obviously that's not possible currently. But it's a fantastic thing, obviously, to be in the Championship, but it must be such a competitive, as they're looking down the list of 24, it's, the fixtures as well are so relentless, Saturday, Tuesday / Wednesday.
Again, particularly this season, and again, that's why I'm saying about the Carabao Cup that actually I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world that we've gone out in the first round. But I think you have to look at the Championship and you think, well, there's at least 12 teams in there that are really desperate to go up and are thinking that the amounts of money that they're actually putting into the football club should be enough to get them up. But of course the trouble with that is, well, there's 12 of them, there are only 3 slots, and and desperation does set in with all of these clubs, and as you rightly say, at some of them, you lose 3 games in a row and the manager is probably out the door.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at the table now, which always at this time of the season is good to do. Disappointingly, Wycombe currently second from bottom.
I was going to say, unless you're Wycombe Wanderers, in which case it's never quite so good. All right, if you're AFC Bournemouth.
But of course, Sheffield Wednesday are already bottom.
Yes, minus 12.
Which is a great sort of head start for the others. So obviously there's Wycombe and Walsall currently in the relegation zone.
And of course it's the second season in a row that we've now had this, because obviously last season it was Bolton that started it on minus 12.
Yes, of course.
And this season, Sheffield Wednesday minus 12. But as I said earlier on, actually still, if you look at what the bookmakers say, they still tip that Wycombe Wanderers will finish behind Sheffield Wednesday. We shall see.
That's what makes it exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sort of challenge, if you like, to prove the bookmakers wrong, but it's the unknown of what's going to happen, because, I'm sure, like myself, you often look at fixtures and think, oh yeah, that should go that way, or that should go the other, that should be a high-scoring game, but it often never really goes the way you predict anyway.
Particularly in the Championship. The Championship is the most unpredictable league, I think, possibly in the world, but certainly in English football, and everyone bangs on about, the Premier League, it's the best league in the world. No, it's not.
You hear other managers saying,
it's the Championship.
Any team can beat any team in the Championship.
And that's why the Championship is great, because any team can beat any team on their day. Whereas you look at, you look at teams playing Liverpool or Manchester City, who aren't maybe in the top 4 or 5 in the Premier League, and it's one time in 100 that they might get a result. Championship, anyone can beat anyone. And I think the really good thing for Wycombe is that actually, yes, you have got those maybe 12 clubs that are all desperate to go up, and Wycombe haven't got that pressure. All Gareth will be doing is saying to them, right, okay, it's about getting to that 50 points. It's about that survival. That's what we're looking for. And so actually, they can go into these games without that pressure on. Whereas, half the teams in that division are absolutely desperate to get out of it.
And obviously so many times last season as well, last-minute winners, well, not even last minute, so 96, 97, no, 98... You'll get your money's worth.
Yes, definitely. It's a fantastic league, and it's wonderful that we'll be a part of it, and I think we'll be a really good addition to the Championship as well.
And great to hear from Joe Jacobson, so richly deserved to be the supporters' player of the year so many times this season, not least in scoring a penalty or scoring from free kicks, or of course scoring from corners. That he's done so well for the club, and brilliant that he got that supporters award, and loads of other awards as well, of course, that have highlighted how good a season both individuals have had and the team collectively.
I think Joe definitely, I'm really pleased that he got the supporters' player of the year. He's been part of Wycombe Wanderers for such a long time. He's a fantastic footballer. He's a lovely guy as well. I think it was very, very well deserved. Anthony Stewart was Players' Player of the Year. Again, not a surprise. In particular, thinking about the playoff final, because in the playoff final he was a brick wall in the playoff final. He was absolutely immense, as he was really throughout the whole season, but completely deserved. And the fact that then comes from your fellow players as well, I think that must be a real accolade and be really nice to have.
And not a surprise for goal of the season either.
No, goal of the season, Nambi off ball, fantastic. That first minute against Fleetwood, we were all just sitting there. You were just sort of getting used to the fact that Wycombe were playing again. And before you knew it, we were already 1-0 up, and it was a great goal.
I do remember that feeling so well of when he scored, and you just thought, wow, from that point you thought, oh, this could go really well for us now.
Exactly that. Before it started, you were sort of thinking a little bit more about, well, maybe if we could get a draw tonight, that'll be a good result. Take them back to Adams Park, and maybe we can snatch a victory. As soon as that goal went in, straight away, as you say, I was then sitting there thinking, actually, you never know. This could be one of those nights where actually Wycombe score 4 or 5 goals. And sure enough, it proved, that amazing spell in the opening 10 minutes where, all sorts of things happened, and penalties and goals, and it's fantastic.
Once again, the underdog tag really seemed to suit really seemed to suit the team when you consider how well backed Fleetwood are. Joey Barton. I know he said Joey Fleetwood. I don't know. He's someone else. And some of the names that they've got.
Fleetwood Mac.
Yes, that's it. But as you say, when that goal went in, and the nature of it as well, you just thought, wow, this this is a bit special.
And again, exactly as you say, Fleetwood, very well-backed team. Yes, they're from a fairly small town, but, they have got the financial backing in the way that Wycombe Wanderers really haven't. So it was fantastic that we beat them, fantastic that we beat Oxford, and great, we deserve where we are.
Just under 10 minutes to go till our Twitter poll closes. Give us a rundown. We should have some sort of cheesy chart music, shouldn't we? No, we shouldn't do that.
No, I like that idea. We'll have that for next week.
Yes, we'll bring that in.
The cheesy music. Still to come then on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we will be speaking to Chair Girls captain Charlotte Bagshaw.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome back to part 3 of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. It really is a show of 3 halves. We've already heard from Wycombe Wanderers manager Gareth Ainsworth.
We're into extra time.
Supporters. Wycombe, it's the 96th minute we're into now. The supporters player of the year, Joe Jacobson, we heard from a little earlier on as well. And throughout the weeks on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll be catching up with some of the key names of Wycombe Wanderers, the men's team, but also featuring the ladies as well.
And Wycombe Wanderers ladies had their first competitive game of the season when they took on Oxford City in the FA Cup extra preliminary round. And Colin has been speaking to the Chair Girls captain, Charlotte Bagshaw.
Hi Charlotte, thanks very much for joining us on our first show. And it's been a crazy sort of few months really, especially with your previous season coming to such an abrupt end and then with lockdown as well.
Yeah, obviously we've had, our last game was probably, I think it was middle of Feb, so we've gone, kind of 5 months without doing any football at all, really. We literally didn't train at all as a group until the FA said we could, basically. So that was, I think, middle of July, beginning of August. We've had a couple of friendlies and obviously our FA Cup game last week. So, we're finally back into it and excited for the league to start in October.
It must have been so strange in lockdown as well, being literally sort of not knowing what was going to happen next. But you did those videos with all the players, which was a great way for people to kind of connect with you. Yeah,
I think, we'd gone a couple of months without, we were hardly talking to each other either. It was kind of strange, like some sort of zombie apocalypse. It was very strange. So, we kind of, I think someone put a little message in a group saying, hey, we need to let the fans know a little bit about us. Our social media pages are quite newly established, so we thought by doing a video and popping it on there would be the best way for people to kind of get to know us and what we've been up to in lockdown and, little facts about us and our footballing backgrounds, basically. So, yeah.
And perhaps some interesting things learnt about yourselves as well, who your teammates thought were best dressed or best sense of humour or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was quite happy to get a few votes for funniest player, although I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing, to be honest. I'll take it as a good thing at this moment. But it was a good laugh to put them together. So we'll definitely look to do more things like that in the future. Hopefully not in a lockdown, obviously, but we'll hope to put some more things together.
And even your end of season awards went online as well.
They did, yes. Not a live stream, unfortunately, but we did put the results on, who won what awards and whatnot on the social media. So that was a really, really interesting night. It was good fun.
So what was it like coming back to pre-season? Because obviously it must have been quite cautious, thinking, it must have been brilliant to be back, first of all.
Yeah, we were all just straight back into it. There's rules that fairly easy to follow, basically. No taking any kit or anything with you, basically. You turn up in what you want to wear. You can't bring any bags with you and whatnot. It's literally you and a water bottle. The nice part was that we don't have to do any tidying up after, so the coaches had to be left to touch all the cones. We literally weren't allowed to touch anything with our hands, so it was a nice swift exit at the end of training. So, felt a bit bad for the coaches having to stay behind and pick everything up. And
a much changed team this year as well, because you've got a number of new arrivals.
Yeah, we've got 6 or 7 new additions to the team who are, it's looking really, really good at the moment. Really good, fresh players for the team. So, good quality level for us as well. It's looking good.
And really nice to keep hold of the players that have been well established as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we only lost 1 or 2. I can only think of one off the top of my head, actually. But we're just really hoping to keep on building. There's still time to sign players. I think we can sign players until something like February, so it's towards the end of the season. So we're really happy with who we've signed, and we're excited to get going.
There must be a real sense of development as well, because you've got the development squad, the under-18s, and you feel that you're really building something now.
Yeah, it's nice to have that development team, which is obviously a feeder team for the first team. The under-18s are looking really strong as well. I know they're playing in the Thames Valley League, so we'll try if we can to get down and watch some of their games on Saturday mornings and give them some support. But yeah, it's looking really good. The club's in a really good position, both on the male and female side, obviously. I think there's some good things to come for Wycombe Wanderers, so yeah, it's very exciting at the moment.
It must have been great as well to be back in your first competitive game at the weekend and such a fantastic start as well.
Yeah, it was a good test. I think we were all a bit nervy before the game, having only played a couple of friendlies, which of course got us ready for this game, but it's always a bit nervy when it's your first competitive game. But we got our heads down and got a goal after about 20 minutes, and from that point on we didn't look like losing and ended up winning the game 4-0. So yeah, it was really good game.
And something so prestigious about the Women's FA Cup, although it's only the extra preliminary round as well. You did really well in the competition last year. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's prestigious. It's the FA Cup. It's the best trophy, in my opinion, cup to win in England. So I was happy to grab myself a goal. So it's quite nice to be able to say you scored an FA Cup goal. So I'm happy with that, yeah. And the draw already done for the preliminary round as well. It'll be at home to Eversley in California, which for people that don't know, it's not the California in America. They're in Berkshire, and Eversley are a Hampshire team. Yeah, a bit of a weird one. I'm not too sure how that worked out, but I think they're Thames Valley League, which is a league below us. Obviously, we're not going to be complacent, but we fancy our chances against them. And now, obviously, being promoted last season into the division that you're in now, the Southern Premier, it must be great to kind of have a bit of a gauge as to what the other teams are like. Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, we have that advantage of it's almost like last season was kind of a practice round, if you like, for this season. So we know what we're up against. We've added to our squad. You know, all the players that we've brought in are complementing us really nicely. So, yeah, I think we can really push for promotion. And, yeah, promotion is our goal this season. So let's see if we can do it. What are some of the main things you took from the previous campaign about, you know, the way that you've played and the way that you've kind of developed as a team? I think just not to underestimate ourselves. Seem to have sometimes a little bit of a negative mindset going into some games last season. You know, we had to play the likes of Abingdon 4 times, so 2 cup games and 2 league games, and that's always a bit of a fiery game. So it's one of those where you're warming up for the game and you're a little bit scared, a little bit nervy. But I think we've learnt now that we've had the lockdown that, you know, we need to take every chance that we can get to play football, basically. So we'll go into those games now with a really positive attitude and try and get the win. Do you set yourselves kind of goals and targets for the coming season? Yeah, like I said, I think promotion is our goal. It would be nice to get some silverware as well. Obviously, we got to the Chairman's Cup final last season, but unfortunately weren't able to play it. So we're really eager after that, and we want to go and win a trophy this season. So that's our main aim. And just the fact that your season was so sort of cruelly ended previously, does that make you more hungry, feel like, to sort of achieve what you can this season? Absolutely, yeah, and especially seeing the success that the men's team had. You know, we want to match them and bring some more success to the club as a whole. And does it feel that we've sort of spoken before, but does it feel like there's a real kind of more interest, if you like, in Wycombe's women's team? Absolutely, yeah. We get messages on social media all the time from, you know, girls asking if they can come and train with us. We even get some parents just messaging us to say how much their daughter or their son is keen on watching us, and we have a couple of little fans that come and watch us every week. And, you know, obviously no fans at the moment as it's behind closed doors, but we'll be excited to see them hopefully in October when fans are allowed to come again. Obviously, wish you all the best for the coming season. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Thank you for having me. Brilliant to speak to Charlotte, and fantastic that there's a real surge, if that's the right expression, of interest in women's football, and definitely, you know, since the England team did so well in the World Cup, people I think are looking for their local team to follow, and great that Wycombe Wanderers ladies are becoming so established. As we say, with the development squad, they've got their under-18s as well. They're training tonight, 8 o'clock. Oh, training. Yes. Their league season doesn't start, as Charlotte mentioned, until next month, so they've got a bit of a wait for that. But their preliminary round FA Cup against Eversley in California, that well-known side, is a week on Sunday, so the 20th. And Charlotte was saying that they've got a social evening on Sunday as well. Which I think you tried to get an invite to, but got turned down. Yes, for legal reasons, I can't attend. Yeah, okay, no, fair enough. Fantastic that they're also... She's so competitive actually with the men, saying that, you know, yes, they've seen how well the men did, and as you rightly said as well,
very, very cruel, actually, what happened to the women's season, where it was just basically annulled, and, it was said, well, no, actually, we're going to pretend that didn't happen, in the same way that it was for so many non-league teams. And you just think, no, that's not fair. You've played all of those games, and the fact that in other divisions, such as in League One, it ended up being decided on points per game, I think that, that's a much fairer way of doing it. But clearly, the ladies got something to prove this season, and they've started off in fantastic form. Especially
as they were just finding their feet in that division last season, having been promoted. And as you say, it seems so cruel to suddenly say, well, that doesn't count. But in a way, I suppose they can use it as a positive, in that it was a rehearsal, if you like, for playing the teams again this season.
Yes, yeah, and I think we are going to see great things from Wycombe Wanderers ladies, and it'd be lovely to see them have a decent cup run as well.
Absolutely, and it's great when they have such high-scoring games. And Charlotte plays in the midfield and scored goals in pre-season and in the cup already as well. Tara Woodward, of course, who's the club's overall leading goal scorer for a couple of seasons in a row, beating Mr. Akinfenwa as well. Which is something to have on your CV.
Yeah, it certainly is. And as I say, it's nice that they've got this little competition going with the men as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you say, it really pushes on both teams, I guess.
We have the results from our Twitter poll.
Oh.
Yes.
This is proper jeopardy, this is, because it could literally go either way.
It could very much go either way. So promotion playoffs, 12.5%.
Oh, it's dropped a bit.
Said promotion playoffs. 12.5% also said 7th to 12th. 75% said 13th to 21st, and nobody thinks that Wycombe Wanderers will be relegated, who took part in the poll.
That's very exciting.
Isn't that good?
Well done us.
Yes, well, and like you say, it is the positivity. It's the Wycombe Wanderers fans know the club. They know what to expect. They know that Gareth manages to overachieve with the players that he's got, whereas very much there's so many people in the media who won't have even noticed really Wycombe Wanderers until we came up, and who will just be dismissing us. We know what we are, as the chant goes. We know what we are. We know that we're a small club, but Gareth absolutely loves that tag of the underdog, doesn't he?
And to hear Pete Couig as well say staying in the Championship would be an even better achievement than getting promotion to that level in itself, which from that poll you could literally see happening.
Yes, definitely. And I very much like the way that him and Gareth as well are very much setting out their stall at the beginning and saying, well, yes, that will be the achievement, and yes, we are going to have a few rough weeks, but at the same time, we're going to take this on. We're going to have a great time.
It's going to be a tough road to hoe.
It is, as Pete says. We like that, and the number of times he said the word tough.
Yes,
yeah. We'll clip that for next week. We'll
nice
have that
for gardeners to get the hoe mentioned as well.
Indeed, yes. We do hope to be speaking to former players on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, and you yourself, Colin, spoke to one of the former players shortly after the playoff final win.
I did. I was very lucky to get a few words with Mark Rogers to get his thoughts on the achievements of the club, and also his memories of his time comparable working under Laurie Sanchez as compared to the current players who, of course, are working under Gareth Ainsworth.
It's an unbelievable story. I mean, it'll be a story that these Wycombe players and the Wycombe supporters will be talking about in 20, 30, 40 years. The season that they started the year with 9 players, 9 signed professionals in the preseason, ended up getting derailed by COVID, and then, almost having the season null and void to going into the playoffs via points per game and then winning it. It almost seemed like it was written in the stars, Colin. It was fantastic, and I'm just so made up for everybody.
It must feel in a way like only football can do this, and I guess it must be something which you can relate to from the FA Cup run when you were playing, and that sort of anticipation and that real excitement that you can go further.
Oh, it's funny. I've done numerous interviews about the FA Cup run, whether for Wycombe, the club, and others. And it's funny. It got to a point where we thought we were going to win it. We were completely convinced. I remember there were players after we lost to Liverpool in that semi-final, and that Liverpool team won a treble. They didn't win the league, but they won the FA Cup, League Cup, and at that time the UEFA Cup. And we just felt it was our destiny to win that tournament. And once we got on that roll, we fully believed it. And Laurie Sanchez and Terry Gibson, our management, did a fantastic job with that. To the point where when we lost to Liverpool 2-1, there were players that were absolutely distraught. because they'd convinced themselves so wholeheartedly that they were going to win that match. In this team, yeah, it felt very similar just watching it. Now, I can't speak for the guys in the dressing room, but I know that if you asked them, or if I had an opportunity to ask them, they probably just felt that, we're going to win this, and they were totally convinced of that. And I think that's what it takes. I think you have to be that convinced and that confident and that prepared going into those games where you're almost at ease, because you know that the outcome is going to be in your favour.
Colin, speaking to Mark Rogers, that was shortly after the playoff final victory. Absolutely fascinating that he said that they felt that they could win the FA Cup.
Especially coming up against Liverpool in the semi-final.
Indeed, yes. And if you remember that time, as you rightly said, Liverpool were in all of those cup competitions, weren't they? And, weren't probably doing quite as well, as they might have done today in the Premier League. But they were involved in all of those cup competitions. But clearly, we went into it thinking that we could win at Villa Park, which I think is brilliant. And
those sort of occasions as well, we were talking about the special nights that you remember, but, penalties against Wimbledon, wasn't it? And Leicester as well, of course, the famous Laurie Sanchez watching after being sent off. And there are so many things.
Then appearing on Match of the Day.
I know. There are so many things that make it, I guess, magical sounds a bit corny, but really a fantastic story.
But yes, when you look back on it, it was. And as you say, all of those, beating Wolves, beating Wimbledon, the Leicester game, and the Liverpool game, because the Liverpool game was a fantastic day out. And the fact that we scored against Liverpool when so many other teams hadn't, that was just a brilliant end to the campaign.
No, absolutely. And great that it was Keith Ryan that got the goal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you would like to hear the whole of Colin's interview with Mark Rogers, then that is on the website. But that is just about it from the Wycombe Wanderers Show. For tonight, we will be back next Thursday from 7 o'clock. You can listen to the show again on the podcast. It is available on various methods, which I'm sure Luke will let us know about. How can you listen to it on the podcast if you want to hear it again, Luke?
Currently on Spotify and iTunes. It'll be on Google Podcasts and Radio Player very soon, and the predictions are going in the envelope.
Excellent, yes, so we have written down our predictions. We've also taken your predictions that you've given us on Twitter. We will find out in May how right or how wrong we were.